Uh, Hi everyone, this is Raman Chawla. I'll be having a webinar with all of you on LoRaWAN in smart cities. So just to give you a brief introduction about myself, uh, as I told you, my name is Raman Chawla. I head the government and institutional sales in Senra. Senra is a 3-year-old LoRaWAN public network operator. So I'll be, covering the agendas of my webinar in around 40 to 45 minutes. And then we'll take on the question and answers at the end of the webinar. And once, in case, I'm unable to answer all the questions, we can take it offline and then we'll be responding to them in a couple of days. So let's start with the webinar. So just to give you a brief introduction, I have over 12 years of experience in the industry in various verticals like defense, government sales, institutional sales, and smart cities business. I have been associated with Senra for the last 1.5 odd years, and it has been a great journey with them. So let's start now. Yeah, so today's agenda basically would be a brief introduction about Senra, what we do and what we are. Then I'll be covering about the benefits of LoRaWAN and its advantages in smart cities. I'll give you also, next would be, sharing some insights of the market of smart cities. Then I'll be discussing some of the use cases that Senra is doing, and we are doing a lot of other use cases that are in the pipeline. At the end, I'll be taking in the question and answers. So let's start on this. Yeah. So who's Senra? So Senra is basically a pan-India LoRaWAN network operator who started in 2017. We are one of the contributing members of the LoRa Alliance. LoRa Alliance is a body which is formed, for all the companies that are associated with LoRaWAN in the LoRaWAN space. So they have companies as big as Google, Alibaba, Amazon, and there are a lot of companies in India as well that are there, and we also have government institutes that are supporting the cause of LoRaWAN in India. So we are basically a leader in providing low cost, long range connectivity for IoT and machine to machine solutions and applications. Uh, Moving on, how we started our journey in 2017, 3 years back, kind of, we established Senra in India, and then in a couple of months, everything was there, and we deployed our coverage in NCR. So in NCR, it was Gurgaon, Faridabad, Noida, and Delhi as well. Then by the end of December, we were doing one of the projects in Maharashtra for an ultrasonic water meter, and that was a pretty successful project that is still going on. Then in July 2018, we introduced, one of the LoRaWAN waste bin sensors in India. It was one of the first sensors that could detect the waste levels of bins automatically. And that was introduced in July 2018. In October, moving on, we did one of the POCs in Amritsar that was for the smart parking enforcement projects. I'll discuss this POC in detail in one of the use cases that I have to discuss. By November, we completed 30 cities of deployment, and that's all proactive deployment. And we're doing these proactive deployments, from day one. Currently, we have reached to 73 cities, and our target is to hit 100 smart cities by the end of this year. By the end of December 2018, we bagged a project of smart street lighting in one of the industrial houses in Bangalore. So I'll also discuss the use case on this as well. In February, this was 1.5 years of journey, and then people used to say and come back to us and say, okay, you provide the network, but we can't see what the network does, what it captures, and what is the analytics based out of it. So finally, we developed Ginger. That's our own in-house developed IoT analytics platform, and that gave in, the insights of what could be captured using the LoRaWAN network and what are the battery life of these systems. It could also give in a lot of graphs, a lot of pictorial view of the historical data that was captured. It could give reports, it could give notifications, alerts, and the alert mechanism, how somebody wants to handle the alerts that are coming in or the warnings that are coming in. So by August, we could, deploy 50 cities. And moving on, in September 2019, we did a project with one of the tiger reserves in the country. And it was one of the unique projects in which we could, actually avoid the animal-human conflict using LoRaWAN trackers and the LoRaWAN network. And that's how that project is still going on. By October, we signed in a contract with one of the OEMs of the water meter manufacturer for 2 lakh water meters, and that would be deployed in the country by 2022 2023. By December, by 2.5 years down the line, we could cover 60 smart cities, and we were left with 40 smart cities when we started this year. We have already covered 13 smart cities more, and we'll be covering the remaining by the end of this year. In April 2020, during the pandemic, we released another version of Ginger, which is a more advanced version of Ginger, and it has the it is more advanced in terms of the reports that get generated, the data analytics, and more devices have been added. Now anybody can automatically go in and just do few lines of coding, and their devices can be streamed onto it. It need not be a Sendra device. It can be any LoRaWAN enabled device. We have plans to make this network agnostic. We can also add other network devices in the near coming future. So that's all more about the journey of Sendra. So now, as I said, we have already covered 73 cities in India. And if somebody wants to see the city coverage map, they can always go to our website. That's www.sendraco.com, and they can look in where each city has the coverage or not, and they can always, get in touch with us, and we offer 5 device connectivity for free. So that's more about it. Now moving on to the next topic in my agenda, that would be the benefits and the advantages of LoRaWAN. So when I talk about the benefits and the differentiators, how it's different from the other RF technologies available in the market. So the first point that comes in is typically the flexible deployment options. So in the flexible, it can be used for multiple projects. Like for example, somebody starts off with a streetlight project in a city, and the network is already deployed across the city. Then the same network can typically be used for water meters, for gas meters, for energy meters, for parking solutions, for environmental solutions, and even for the industrial IoT solutions. So it's kind of a flexible deployment. It's not that every time you'll have to deploy a new infrastructure, a new gateways for different technologies that are going to be used. Next would be, the scalable device management. Somebody, for example, let's say I start off with a project and I just have 100 devices initially. I can always scale up this project to 1,000 devices, 10,000 devices, and that too by just adding a few more gateways, because each gateway has a great capacity of more than 7 to 10,000 devices that can be connected onto it. Now everybody says, the talk of the town is that the device connectivity is there, that's good enough. But what about the data that is being streamed? Is it secure or not? So LoRaWAN, typically the network is AES 128-bit encrypted, and that's the most secure way to, for the data. And we rest assured that all the data that is being captured and being transmitted would be secure enough. In terms of the geolocation, when I talk about geolocation is typically when somebody wants to have the location of the devices as well, and this is basically for the moving assets. So that can also be done using the LoRaWAN. Low cost, typically, just to give you an example, a gateway of a LoRa gateway would typically cost 1/10 of the cost of a GSM gateway, and it also has a low running cost to attach to it. And the deployment is pretty easy. It's not a tedious process that I need to deploy a big antennas, and I need to deploy the great infrastructure that the GSM operators typically deploy. So that would not be required into this. Moving on to the long range coverages, typically what we have seen in LoRaWAN is The coverages range from, somewhere around 3 kilometers in the urban environment, and they typically go up to 6 to 7 kilometers in the rural environment when there is less of dense population and less households that are being there. So typically one gateway can cover such a big area, and that would be there. And long battery life, that's the next advantages of using a LoRaWAN device. The battery life of most of these devices are 3+ years, and they can also go up to 7 to 10 years depending upon the usage that is required out of them. For example, a water meter typically has 7 to 10 years of battery life attached to it. Yeah. So moving on, these are the few insights that are coming in from a lot of these research bodies. So typically LoRaWAN would satisfy the 70% of the smart city requirements. When I say 70%, this would cover all the utility space, the parking space, the street light, the space, the bins, the environmental sensors. What would just be left would be more about which require a high through data throughput, and that typically falls into the CCTV business and the safe city domains. So when we look at the smart cities, so smart lighting, smart parking, smart metering, and bins can be covered by a common Sendra LoRaWAN network, and that's how one, as I said, one common network can provide the platform for all these applications. So moving on to another insight that comes from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, it typically says that the smart city market in India by this year would be 27.3 billions, and we're typically, yes, we are looking at this big of a number that is being available to us, and there are a lot of projects that's coming in, and they are available for us to actually work upon. If I talk about the growth of the smart city market in India, so typically the growth has been at 18.5% year on year, and currently we are sitting at $23.3 billion, and which is expected to be doubled in the next 3 years actually. So the market has a great potential, and we all are at the verge of getting a lot of business out of this market. So moving on, when I talk about the LoRaWAN in smart cities, as I said, just using one common network, we can have water meter management, we can have energy management, in which I can actually control the street lights using a mobile app, and I can actually dim them, I can actually increase their intensity, I can come to know about which individual light has fault, which light does not have fault. Then on the smart parking sensors, I can provide a real-time insight for traffic violations and congestions. I can use the same sensors for illegal parking. I can use the same sensors that can be deployed on legal parking as well. When moving on to smart bins, these sensors reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and they also reduce the waste accumulations, which is a problem in India, that nobody knows when the bin is going to be full or when not. So once this sensor is being installed into the waste bin, we get an insight that, okay, this bin has been filled up. Once it is 75% full, we get an alert onto that. So now I'm moving on to the use cases of the LoRaWAN space that Sendra has been doing, and we are doing a lot of other use cases. So you can always get back to us in case you're looking at some LoRaWAN solutions, and we'll be happy to help. So moving on to the first use case, that's for smart water management, and we are doing the smart water metering project in Maharashtra for close to 10,000 water meters. So typically what the requirement was for the smart cities, they wanted to automate the domestic water meter services. They wanted to include the monitoring water flow, detect leakage, consumption, and real-time metering availability to the citizens. So what was typically happening prior to these smart meter water meter projects, society would just have one common big meter for the water, and whatever the bill used to come in, it was getting divided amongst the society flat members, and that's how they used to pay to the corporation. But then people, started to have issues with it, and they used to tell that uh, we are just a household for two people, whereas against a household of a joint family of 8 to 9 people, our water consumption is less. Why are we being charged equally to them? So then the water body came up with a solution that, okay, let's give individual household meters to everybody, and that has to be automated. And during this time of the pandemic, there was nobody who could go there for the readings and all. And now people are discussing a lot about automation of these utility meters, be it water, be it gas, because all these companies wanted to have revenue, which they were not getting because the bills were just being sent out as an average bill. So the challenges what generally comes is, like I told you, there's no real-time meter reading availability that's available to the user and to the corporation, and the operational costs are very high, and the billing was never streamlined. So every time there was a bill that used to come in, nobody knows that, okay, is it the actual consumption, or we are also being charged for the leakages that are being in the pipeline, or the wastages that, or somebody has, tapped the pipeline and using it for watering something or doing something else. So nobody could, determine the revenue losses out of it. So the solution that we came up with is basically all the meters would be fitted up either with a retrofit device in case the civic bodies do not want to change the existing meters because it still has a life available. So typically it will be fitted with a retrofit, which would be a LoRaWAN retrofit. And once there is a change in the readings, that would be transmitted onto the LoRaWAN gateway. From the gateway, it will be transmitted to the network server. Then it goes to the web app. From the web app, it gets integrated to the consumer data, and it gets integrated to the billing software. And the consumer is finally raised a bill, which is being sent to his mobile app, and he can pay directly from that. The other method is in case the civic authorities want to change the water meter and put in new water meters. So there are a lot of new LoRaWAN enabled water meters that have pre-fitted LoRaWAN chips into it, and that can be used onto it. So that's a different, that is one, there are two versions of the technology. One is a retrofit, and the other one being, you can use brand new meters, which would have a better battery life and a better life to the systems. So that's how typically, we could solve the problem for the water meters, and we could control the non-revenue water losses as well by 10 to 12% for the smart cities. So now moving on to the next use case, that's for the smart street lighting, and it's for the individual street lighting. We can also do group street lighting, but I'll be more discussing about the individual lighting controls here. So basically what the smart city want, that they want to reduce the consumption on the street lights. And typically what they do is, the first step is to change from the sodium halogen lamps to the LED lamps. So when they change from sodium to LED, they typically tend to save upon 30 to 40% of the things. And when they automate each and in every individual light, so that they can control the luminosity and set schedulers to reduce the human efforts, they save in another 10 to 12% on that. So typically moving from halogens to LED gives them a 50%, 40 to 50% of savings. So that's what the requirement is. What was generally happening is that, there were a lot of challenges in this, that all these streetlights are currently monitored manually. So in case the guy who's not available, who needs to switch on the streetlights, he's fallen ill, or probably due to the corona, there was lockdown, the streetlights would not be operative during that period. So, and then when all these streetlights were, actually connected in groups. So when there was a group light that would go off, nobody came to know what was the actual reason. It was just about, checking each and every light and then finding out the root cause of it. And that would take a lot of time. So now when these streetlights are individual, so now I know, okay, streetlight number 10 or 12 is not working. And I would also get the inputs of those lights, that what has been the current, what has been the surge on them, the voltage that has been transmitted, the load factors. So I'll get in all those data along with the controllers that I'll be putting. So current As this I discussed, the current system controls a series, whereas we control individual streetlights. So moving on, what the solution typically looks like. The device on the extreme left is typically a luminaire controller. This gets fitted into the streetlight, the existing streetlights. We need not change the complete setup of the streetlight. It would get fitted with the existing LED streetlight. And once that's fitted in, uh, we can use the commands to actually switch on the street light, switch off the street light, dim them. Probably dimming them, we can start at 6 p.m. in the evening and have 25% luminosity. Then at 7 o'clock we can have 50% luminosity, and then moving on at 8 when it's pitch dark we can have 100% luminosity. Similarly, in the morning time at 5:30 we reduce the luminosity to 50%, and then at 6:30 to 0 we switch off the lights. So that also gives in a lot of savings to us. And typically what happens is this device gets connected and all these commands can go out from Ginger. As I told you, Ginger is our own in-house analytics platform. It will also give you individual controls and individual data for all the streetlights. It will give you all the insights, the reports, the alerts that are being generated. Similarly, all this data is being routed to the mobile app, that's UBeam, that's also developed in-house by Sendra. And you can use the UBeam app on your mobile, and you can actually look at all the data that's being on Ginger. Similarly, on the mobile app, you can function all these streetlights, you can switch it on, switch it off from the mobile app as well. So all this, for example, you look at the mobile app screen, you would see few are green, few are black. So the green ones are working, are on, and the black ones have not yet been switched on. So you can typically, just by a push of one button on the screen, you can switch on or switch off any of the streetlights using the mobile app as well. So now moving on to my next use case, that's for the smart parking. As I said, the smart parking sensors in LoRaWAN can be used for both legal parking and illegal parking. So I'll be discussing about the illegal parking. In case somebody is looking for legal parking solutions, they can always get in touch with me, or can always drop in an email at info@sendraco.com. So moving on with the smart parking solutions, typically the requirement of the smart city is, they want to reduce traffic congestions at intersections where the vehicles are illegally parked. So we did this project with Amritsar Smart City, and I'll be discussing about that project in detail. So, and the smart cities would also, want to send automatic notifications to the police when the vehicle has parked in a no parking zone in real time. So the challenges were, police can't every time, go there, and once they reach there, the challan, the guy would not be available there, and the parking of the ticket is not tracked. Yes, there is, because sometimes the ticket would be issued, sometimes it would not be issued, and all the existing solutions that they were trying to deploy was very costly. So what we typically did was, on the, if people know about, Amritsar, there's a Mall Road and the Lawrence Road intersection. So what we typically did was we deployed sensors across the intersection on Mall Road and Lawrence Road. And then whosoever used to, come in and park their vehicle and create chaos, that warning, the alert used to go back to the police that was nearby. And from there, the police would come in and issue the challan, and or they can even tow the vehicle as per their requirements, depending upon the requirements of them. So that's how, during the 6 months, we could reduce the number of people creating chaos at this intersection. And finally, this intersection got, there was no illegal parking that was being done on these intersections. So when I talk about the end-to-end solutions, we offer the complete solution in this domain. So in the left, it's the device that we offer. That this device can be buried into the ground, and it has no impact from rain, snow, or dirt, dust. It has a battery life of typically 5 years, and can go up or go down depending upon the intersection and how busy the intersection would be. So all this data, once a vehicle gets parked on top of this sensor, all this data is being transmitted to Ginger, and from Ginger it gets transmitted to the UPark app. That's again the UPark app is being has been developed in-house by by Senra. So what you can typically see in this is that, okay, at spot number 5, uh, where the sensor is placed, there is a vehicle that has been parked there for the last X amount of time, and that alert would go to the police guy who's using the system, and they would go there and issue a challan or tow the vehicle. On the other hand, this same sensor can be used in multi-level car parkings for legal parking, and our app is good enough to tell you which slot is empty, which slot is not uh, available for the parkings. So moving on to the another use case, that's for the smart waste management use case. So when I move on to that, that's typically, a use case in which we are doing this project with one of the airports in India, and the airports actually was looking for management of their waste bins that was outside the terminal building. And so we deployed sensors into it, and along with tracking of the garbage collector vehicles as well. Uh, so basically, when I come on to the the requirements, the smart city authorities want to automate their waste collection process to include the monitoring of waste bin levels, the time waste remains uncollected. They also want to know that, determine locations where waste buildup is high so that they can put in more waste bins there, and they want to reduce the waste disposable times out of it. So they don't want the waste to be lying around on into the city, so that the city does not look clean, and so under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So typically what challenges are, what we faced are, is the waste accumulation is very hard to monitor manually. We don't know when which bin is going to be filled up. We don't know which area is going to have high density of waste collection or waste disposal, and so that's a lot of problems that the waste collection authorities have. And the waste collection is typically very high. The cost of the waste collection is very high, and we don't know that what is has the bin been emptied, or has the guy who was supposed to go there, did he go there, did he empty half of the bin because his truck was already full, or he could not do it because of some other reasons, and all that stuff. So there's no insight to getting what the everybody is looking at. And then there's obviously, the authorities are struggling to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, which comes out of the waste bin collections at various locations. So moving on to the various, with all these challenges, what we could do is we could, install these sensors in all these waste bins. And typically when there is when the bin gets filled up by there are multiple levels like 25, 50, 75%. So when typically a waste bin would get filled up by 75%, it would issue an alert, and that alert would typically go back to Ginger, and from Ginger to the Clean Bin app. From the app, that waste bin, we would come to know that, okay, bin number X, which is situated at this locality, has been filled up, and then the garbage collector vehicle can go there and empty the bin using the Google Maps, which would guide him to the shortest possible route. So once the bin is emptied, then there would be another alert that would be issued to the system, which would tell the system that, okay, from 75%, now the bin levels have been reduced to 30%, sorry, to 25% or below. So that's how typically this application works. And the ones that we are doing with the airports, in that we also track the trolleys using an asset tracker. So that asset tracker is being put onto the garbage collection trolleys, and they are also being monitored from when they collect the bins and they go back to the dump yards to actually dump the waste and all that stuff. So that's more about it. Yeah. So guys, this is more about my presentation. Now I'll be taking on the few question and answers. I can see there are question answers coming in both the domains. So let me start off with the Q&A session part of it. Uh, there's one question coming from Mr. Said, that is the range 3 kilometer LOS in an urban environment? Mr. Said, as we look upon, yes, we can achieve 3 kilometers in urban environment like Delhi, but we need to have it at a pretty decent height to put the gateways upon. Yeah. Next comes from Mr. Saurabh. Then he's asking that geolocation is GPS or directly calculating using LoRa signal. It's directly calculating the LoRa signal using the triangulation method, and the accuracy is typical 3 to 5 meters. Next is that I can see that, somebody is asking for a recording. Yes, sir, the recordings would be available, and they would be available online to you through our YouTube channels and other places. I can see another question. Is there any case studies available on how the smart cities have benefited from LoRa deployment? So you can always go down to our website and you can look at the few white papers that we have published, and that would give you a better insight on, how the smart cities have been benefited for the LoRa deployments. Okay, Mr. Sheikh, you can always, send back the inquiry to us if in case you want to get connected with us. You can always send back the inquiry on info@senraco.com, and somebody would be happy to help you. Okay, somebody is asking that, have you covered Maharashtra with the LoRaWAN network? Yes, we have a lot of deployments in Maharashtra, but we would like to understand which city are you typically talking about. And once that is available, we can always, let you know that we have coverage there or not. In case the coverage is not there, we can always cover that within a span of 1 to 2 weeks. That's not a problem with us. Then Mr. Srinivas is asking, where is the parking sensor mounted? So the sensors are typically mounted at the ground level, and it's buried into the ground. So we'll have to make a hole into the ground for 4 to 6 inches, and that's how the sensor is being buried. And a little part of the sensor just remains on top of the ground. Next, Mr. Fahim is asking, do you work directly with the city's head or through SIs? So we do it both ways. We can work directly, and we also work with SIs as well. Then Mr. Don, I can see, is an API available to build REST services with your application? Sir, I'll forward this question to my technical team, and they would be happy to support you on this. So you can expect an answer within a couple of days. Okay. Then I can see a question from Stephen. I have an issue of getting IC880A here in Kenya. Any other way I can have my own gateway running? Sir, you can always drop in an email for this query on our support@senraco.com, and they will be happy to help you on this issue. Then comes a question, how are you managing the data platform for the smart cities? As I told you, sir, we already have our Ginger, which is the data platform. And typically all the data for various applications come into on that platform, and that is being that's being available. So you can do that. Mr. Srinivas is asking, what is the current hardware manufacturing scenario in India? Sir, in terms of the water meters, yes, there are a lot of companies that have been manufacturing LoRaWAN water meters. But yes, it is still growing, and the LoRaWAN infrastructure is still growing in India. In terms of the other hardware, we have a lot of players that are being, have got into the manufacturing because they are looking at this as a huge market. But yes, it's obviously not at top of its game. It's always at a growing level. Then Mr. Gulab is asking kind of a similar question. Are you working with channel partners? So you can always write into us and we can discuss the business potential and the opportunities with you. Then there's another question from Mr. Bahadur. How do you manage the dust and other interference causing error in your parking module, for instance? So as we know that India is a country which has a lot of dust and dirt available. So and all these parking sensors are being deployed outside. So the impact of dust and dirt does not hamper the usage of the sensors to great extent. Okay. So I believe all these questions are over. If somebody has any questions, they can still let me know offline. You can always write into info@sendraco.com. So thank you everyone, and thank you Sandra for giving me the platform to present myself, and thank you everyone for giving their time and to listen to me. Thank you. Bye bye.